let's talk about a truly mind-bending idea. What if the way you see the world isn't just a passive reflection of what's out there? What if your perception is actually an active force, a powerful tool that literally helps create the world you experience every single day?
Okay, so to get our heads around this, let's dive right into a real-world experiment. And honestly, the results are pretty astonishing. It puts this whole idea to the test.
So, researchers posed this fascinating question. They went into an elementary school for what's now known as the famous Pygmalion in the classroom experiment. And they told the teachers that, hey, based on this new test we ran, some of your students, these kids right here, are about to have a massive intellectual growth spurt.
But here's the twist, and it's a big one. There was no special test. The students flagged as bloomers were picked completely at random. The only thing that was actually different was the idea planted in the teacher's head, the simple expectation of success.
So what happened? Well, this number really says it all. At the end of the school year, the students who teachers thought were special gained a staggering 27.4 IQ points. Now, for comparison, their classmates in the control group gained a very respectable 12 points. But look at that difference. The teacher's belief didn't just help a little, it more than doubled their students' intellectual growth. It's incredible.
Let's look at it another way, because this is where it gets really wild. If we look at the kids who made truly massive gains, we're talking 20 IQ points or more, almost half of the students who are expected to bloom did. That is more than double the rate of the other students. The expectation wasn't just some small nudge. No, it was a total game changer.
Now, this effect we see in the classroom, it's not just some weird psychological quirk. It is a perfect, real-world example of a much bigger, more powerful idea about how the world works. It's called the theory of reflexivity, and it was championed by the legendary investor George Soros.
Okay, so Soros's core insight was this. Our ideas about the world don't just sit there, passively reflecting reality. He called it reflexivity, this two-way feedback loop. Our beliefs lead us to act in certain ways, and those actions actually change the world around us. And then that new reality circles back and changes our beliefs. It is absolutely not a one-way street. So here's the difference in a nutshell. Traditional thinking, that's on the left, says reality is fixed, and our perceptions just try to match it. But reflexivity theory, on the right, says our perceptions are active players in the game. The beliefs of investors, for instance, don't just guess at a company's future, they actively shape that company's future.
This quote from Soros just nails it. You know, a stock market bubble is the classic example. It all starts with a belief, right? A belief that a stock is going to the moon. Well, that belief drives up the price. Then the company can use its super valuable stock to raise cash or buy other companies. This actually improves the business, which then seems to prove that the original belief was correct all along. See? The belief didn't just predict the future, it literally helped create it.
So, if these feedback loops are really that powerful, what on earth does that mean for us? For our teams, our companies, our relationships? Well, it means we can get trapped in these really vicious cycles of fear. Or we can intentionally create virtuous cycles of trust.
And here you can see the two opposite poles. On one side, you've got systems built on fear and control. People are treated like cogs in a machine, they do the bare minimum, just enough to avoid getting in trouble. But on the other side, you have systems built on trust and partnership. And that unlocks just incredible amounts of energy and productivity. I mean, take a really stark historical example. The V-2 rockets in Nazi Germany were built using forced labor. You can't get more of a fear-based system than that. And the result? The project was just plagued by quiet sabotage and inefficiency. Initial failure rates hit a catastrophic 80%. Fear gets you compliance, maybe, but it absolutely kills quality and real engagement.
But on the flip side, when we shift from that fear to trust, the results are amazing. Study after study finds that high-trust organizations, places where people feel safe and empowered, can be this much more productive. We're talking up to 200%. That is a massive win for everybody involved.
Okay, this all sounds great, but let's be real. How do you actually build that trust and break out of those negative cycles, especially in the real world where,
People aren't perfect. We're guaranteed to make mistakes.
Well, game theory simulations show us just how fragile cooperation can be. All it takes is one little mistake, one miscommunication, one thing that feels like a betrayal, and bam, it can trigger what they call a spiral of death. You hit me, so I hit you back, so you hit me back even harder, and pretty soon you're both locked in this endless lose-lose battle.
So, how do you break a cycle like that? The only way out is for one side to do something totally unexpected, to unilaterally break that pattern of retaliation, to just forgive a mistake and choose, just this once, to cooperate again.
And listen, this isn't just some nice fuzzy idea. It's a mathematically proven strategy. In these complex computer simulations that model the messy reality of human interaction, the most successful long-term strategy was something called generous tit for tat. It's simple. You start by being nice, you retaliate if someone crosses you, but, and this is the magic part, every once in a while you forgive them. That forgiveness, that's the circuit breaker that stops the spiral of death in its tracks.
Okay, so let's bring all of this home. From that classroom to the stock market to our own teams, we've seen how these powerful feedback loops work. But the key takeaway here is that we are not helpless. Just like those teachers, we each have the power to kickstart a positive cycle. And it all begins in one place. This right here. This is the key. Our internal posture, the fundamental way we choose to see other people, is never a neutral act. Just like in that classroom experiment, if we view people with suspicion as objects to be managed, they often live down to that expectation. But if we see them as partners, as people capable of growth, we help create the very conditions for that to happen.
And this leads to this really powerful practice called radical self-responsibility. It means that even in a situation where you feel like you are 99% the victim, you stop and you ask yourself, what is the 1% of this that I actually control? Maybe it's just my reaction. Maybe it's my interpretation, or my choice to make one of those generous moves. By focusing on that 1%, you shift from being a passive victim of your circumstances to being an active agent of change.
So we end right back where we started. What reflexivity teaches us is that our beliefs aren't just descriptions of the world. They are active ingredients in it. The expectations you hold for yourself, for your colleagues, for your family, they are constantly, actively shaping the reality you all share. So the most powerful lever you have to change your world is to first change the lens through which you choose to see it.